Commission makes no recommendations on policy or other matters in its fact-finding reports. Upon completion of each investigation, the USITC submits its findings and analyses to the requester, in this case, the USTR, and fact-finding reports are subsequently released to the public. With regard to the current investigation, the USTR requested that the Commission conduct an investigation and prepare a report that examines the export competitiveness of the apparel industries in Bangladesh, Cambodia, India, Indonesia, and Pakistan, all of which are currently leading suppliers to the U.S. market. The Commission is scheduled to submit its report to the USTR on August 30, 2024. The Commission will include summaries of the positions of persons who testified at this hearing or who filed briefs or other written statements. If you would like the Commission to include a summary that describes your position and you have not already done so, you're invited to submit a 500-word summary either as part of your post-hearing brief or as a separate submission filed with the Office of the Secretary and identified as such. Before we begin, let me note some of the rules for this hearing. All witnesses must be sworn in by the Secretary before presenting testimony. Any questions regarding the time allocations should be directed to the Secretary. Speakers may not refer to business proprietary information. If you will be submitting documents that contain information you wish classified as business confidential, your request should comply with Commission Rule 201.6. Please speak clearly into the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record for the benefit of the court reporter, and mute your microphone and turn off your webcam when you're not presenting. Finally, I'll note that I arrived a few minutes later than usual to the office today, as I spent several minutes this morning at home trying to locate the countries of origin of the clothes that I'm wearing today. The clothes that I'm wearing were produced in Vietnam, the Dominican Republic, Italy, Sri Lanka, China, and Spain. And my suit says that it was made in the United States with imported fabric. I was surprised that none of my clothes today were produced in the 5 countries that are the subject of today's investigation. That being said, I look forward to learning more about the apparel industries in Bangladesh, Cambodia, India, Indonesia, and Pakistan.
Okay, that's perfect. We welcome our foreign government appearance, who is appearing virtual with the government of Bangladesh, Tapan Kanti Ghosh, Senior Secretary with the Ministry of Commerce. Mr. Ghosh, you may begin when you're ready.
Am I audible, Honorable Chair?
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Yes. Okay. Honorable Chair, distinguished commissioners, distinguished participants, good morning to you all. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to orally present our views in this hearing. I am the Senior Secretary of the Ministry of Commerce, Government of Bangladesh. As you understand, you are going to gather statistical and qualitative information on factors underlying the export competitiveness of the apparel industries in Bangladesh. We from Bangladesh are ready to provide all supports in this endeavor. Mr. Chair, you may be aware that Bangladesh has started its journey in exporting apparel back in 1980s with a small volume of export. This sector is totally driven by private entrepreneurs of the country. Over the last 4 decades, Bangladeshi entrepreneurs have gradually increased their capacities in apparel production, as well as in other areas directly linked to apparel industry. There are several factors contributing to robust performance of Bangladesh's apparel sector in the world market. Both domestic and international factors have been playing key role in increasing competitiveness of apparel sector of Bangladesh. I would like to briefly highlight key factors for your information. First, Bangladesh is the world's most densely populated country with an area of 15,598 square miles and a population of 170 million. Labor endowment, especially presence of 1/3 of 15 to 29 age group of women population having skill and knowledge in sewing, is the key determinant factor of competitiveness of apparel industry in Bangladesh. Moreover, increasing literacy rate of both women and men over the last 4 decades has contributed to increasing productivity in apparel industry. With the increase of apparel export and productivity, workers' wage has increased gradually over the period. Moreover, the government of Bangladesh fixes the minimum wage for apparel workers since 1984. During the period between 2013 and 2023, that means last 10 years, the government of Bangladesh has increased the minimum wage of apparel workers 3 times. The minimum wage increase was 316% during this period. As a result, the unit price of apparel items has also increased during this period, despite the increase in productivity of apparel industry. For example, average unit price apparel product exported from Bangladesh to the US in 2013 was US dollar 2.92 a square meter equivalence, SME, which has increased to US dollar 3.23 SME in 2023. Surprisingly, unit price of apparel products exported from Bangladesh has been above the average unit price of US global import during last 4 years, despite the fact that Bangladesh basically exports basic apparel products to the United States of America. Thus, the price is not only the determinant factor of export competitiveness of Bangladesh. Second, since early 80s, the government has been providing non-fiscal policy supports through allowing duty-free import of raw materials by the apparel industry through bonded warehouse facility and back-to-back letter of credit facility, which has reduced significantly the cost of import of raw materials. Third, initially Bangladesh exported apparel through buying house operated in the country. With the expansion of the apparel exports, multinational retailers opened their own representative offices in the country, which enables exporters to sell their products at a competitive price through direct negotiation. Fourth, lead time is a major factor for export of apparel due to changes in the customers' demands. In the 90s, lead time for Bangladesh was around 120 to 150 days due to unavailability of raw materials and other production facilities locally. Over the period, Bangladesh has developed several types of facilities like spinning, weaving, dyeing, packaging, accessories, etc. required for producing. At present, Bangladesh is in a position to locally meet 85% need of yarns for export of knit apparel and 40% of fabrics required for export of woven apparel. It is noteworthy that number of spinning mills in Bangladesh has significantly increased in last 2 decades from 163 in 2002 to 394 in 2012 and again increasing to 519 in 2022. Requirements of fabrics for denim apparel, which is one of the major apparel export items of Bangladesh to the United States, is now fully met locally. Currently, Bangladesh's 40 mills can produce 80 million yards of denim fabrics a month, and the investment in the sector is US dollar 1.6 billion. Fifth, Bangladesh apparel sector offers 2 main advantages that are price and capacity. Bangladesh's apparel sector is well recognized for supplying good quality apparel with large volume for the value and lower mid-market. Despite being the second largest exporter of apparel in the world, 10 products at 6-digit ASS code level represent more than 65% of total apparel export of Bangladesh. It is equally true in the US. Sixth, robust performance of apparel sector can be attributed to the international support measures that is provided by the developed and developing Bangladesh enter duty-free and quota-free in all major export destinations except United States. These preferences encourage big retailers to import from Bangladesh in huge quantity, which in turn gives an extra advantage in increasing the competitiveness of apparel industry in Bangladesh. It is evident that in 1990s, the US was the major market of apparel for Bangladesh, representing more than 45% of total apparel export from Bangladesh, which has gradually reduced to less than 20% in the last decade due to absence of duty-free, quota-free market access in the US market. Mr. Chair, despite robust performance in apparel sector, the industry has been facing enormous challenges like congested roads, poor logistics, limited internal transport alternatives, lack of deep sea ports, high inflation, etc. The government is making all-out efforts to improve the situation, despite productivity of the apparel industry has significantly increased. Recent report shows that gross value added per worker in apparel industry in Bangladesh has increased substantially over the last 1 decade, which can be attributed to 15 times increased investment in capital machinery. Bangladesh is now home of 209 US Green Building Council certified lead green garment industry. Mr. Chair, you will be happy to know that 54 of the world's top 100 lead green factories, including 9 of the top 10 and 18 of the top 20, are now located in Bangladesh. In this regard, I would like to recall the support provided by the global buyers and brands through Accord and Alliance in making our apparel industry safe and environmentally sustainable. Bangladesh has also ratified 36 ILO conventions and on protocol, including forced labor and child labor, and pursuing constantly to improve the working environment by amending laws and rules and their effective implementation. The government of Bangladesh has unilaterally lifted the double fumigation requirement from import of cotton from the United States of America in 2023, which is reflecting in the increasing import of cotton from USA to Bangladesh.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to participate in this hearing virtually. This is Farooq Hassan, and I represent the export-oriented apparel industry in Bangladesh as the president of Bangladesh Garment Manufacturer and Exporter Association. Bangladesh is one of the few graduating least developed countries which has effectively pursued export-led industrialization since the early 1980s that enable an increase in her export. The rise of RMG industry in Bangladesh is closely linked to its export to the US market. The United States has been the largest export destination for apparel made in Bangladesh since mid-80s. In 2023, Bangladesh exported total $47.38 billion of apparel to the world, of which $8.27 billion worth of apparel was shipped to the United States, making up 17.46% of our export. 10 years ago, in 2013, our apparel export to the United States was $5.29 billion, when our apparel export to the world was $23.5 billion, which means share of USA in our apparel export was then 22.54. So United States is extremely relevant and important for us as a trade partner. There is no doubt that Bangladesh is among the few major exporters that has done fairly well in terms of its apparel export to the US. In the past decade, in a comparison of last 10 years, US's global apparel import have declined in aggregate by 2.4%, while import from China declined by 45%, which apparently seems to be filled up by the immediate major supplier. During this year, US's apparel import from Bangladesh increased from $5 billion to $7.3 billion. If we look at the compound annual growth rate of US apparel import in the last 10 years, ending 2023, we see that the terms of US dollar value, US's import from world has declined by 0.25%, while it increased by 3.95% from Bangladesh. In terms of quantity, that is in square meter equivalent, US import from world declined by 0.20%, while import from Bangladesh grew by 2.93%. This clearly shows that during 2013 to 2023, 10 years, Bangladesh unit price have gained by 0.99%, while global average unit price paid by the US have declined by 0.04%. Bangladesh unit price to USA follows a moderate increase trend since 2017. The average unit price we got in 2017 was $2.74 US dollar, which is increased to $3.23 in 2023. If we look at the average unit price statistics of US apparel import, we see that the global average unit price paid by the US in 2023 was $3.20 per SME, while our was $3.23. In fact, there is a very marginal difference in the unit price across major supplying countries to the US, indicating a saturation point. In 2023, US's global import in dollar experienced a massive decline by 22%, while the decline for Bangladesh recorded 25.07%. In terms of SME value, the decline was recorded 21.7% from world and 27.90% from Bangladesh. In the same year, US's global average unit price dropped by 0.5%, while the same has gone up by 4% from Bangladesh. We have the official import data of the US for January 2024. In this very first month of the year, US's import mostly kept declining, which is in dollar value was 16.53%, and from Bangladesh, the decline is recorded 36.5%, which is the highest decline among the top 10 supplying countries to the US. In terms of quantity, the global import decline was 7.57%, which was 34% from Bangladesh. Now let's turn our focus to the cost dynamic of our industry in Bangladesh. Despite numerous challenges, the garment industry in Bangladesh have shown commendable progress in improving workplace safety. In the last 10 years, the industry invested millions of dollars for workplace safety remediation in collaboration with ILO, Global Brand, and Global Worker Federation. Secondly, the industry faced an unprecedented financial distress caused by the COVID pandemic, and the recent geopolitical tension has infused the already struggled global supply and demand dynamic. In recent years, our cost of production has gone up extraordinarily high. Price of electricity have gone up, the diesel price have gone up, the gas price have gone up. From July 2023, the interest rate on lending is adjusted upward to curb the inflation, which has pushed our costs of finance further up. The apparel industry previously rely on labor abundance, but our wages have become comparable to those to our competitors. While wages makes us much of its fifth of the price of our product, this has gone up by 56% from 1st of December last year, 2023. And if we look at the gradual wage increase since 2010, then the aggregate increase in minimum wages is 652%. This time, the basic and gross wage ratio has also increased from 51.25% to 53.7%, resulting in higher allowances the workers are entitled for, like overtime and other allowances. Beyond mere compliance, Bangladesh apparel industry has shown unconventional commitment in ensuring sustainability. At present, the country hosts the highest number of green factories in the world, 211 in fact in number, of which 80 are platinum, 117 are gold rated. 500 more factories are in the pipeline to get certification from USGBC. 21 of the world top out of 23 green factories now are in Bangladesh. However, it does not come out without the cost component. In general, a green factory costs more than 30% in setting up than a traditional one due to its infrastructural and technological difference. So clearly we have a major drawbacks, yet how we are performing. The multi-fiber arrangement MFA quota system was a major factor which contributed to our initial development. However, Bangladesh never received any tariff preference to the United States after the MFA quota phase out in 2004. Volume over value was the main mantra behind Bangladesh export strategy in the takeoff period. Even though during the inception, Bangladesh suffered a lot due to insufficient backward and forward linkage, the scenario have been changed. Nowadays, around 85% of our knitted fabric and 40% of our woven fabric being supplied by the local manufacturer. Along with that, there is a huge industrial backup for packaging and wrapping industries as well, which has been flourished domestically. This is providing an additional advantage to the RMJ sector as it reduces costs and improves efficiency by cutting short the waiting time. The industry is making investment in machine technology and skill. We are focusing an investment in technology and machine upgradation and process optimization. We are investing more on cutting-edge technologies that save resources and reduce wastage to reduce cost and create a positive impact on environment. The advancement in technologies also make workplace more comfortable and convenient for the workers, eliminating unnecessary motion and physical burden on them. This reduces fatigue among the workers and enhance their productivity. Such initiative will be continued in the future as we strive to improve. We have also set up a ESG Vision 2030, which means environment, social, and governance for the apparel industry, covering priority areas including reduction of carbon emission, gender equality, promote use of renewable energy, transparency, traceability, ensure efficiency of natural resources, including water and energy. We are focused more on diversification strategy, bit in the transition to non-cotton apparel from cotton, market diversification, or diversifying into higher value added and higher price segment. As you investigate the competitiveness of select suppliers to the US, we strongly suggest that USITC takes a holistic view on the overall competitive scenario, not only considering the cost and efficiency-based competitiveness, but also the investment the industry has made over the last decade in workplace safety, workers' well-being, and environment sustainability, which adds significant intangible value to the global fashion value chain. Our economy is a significant transition phase. United States is the time-tested friend of Bangladesh. We have received US support during various crucial periods of our national life, particularly at the time of child labor elimination when Harkins Bill was placed in 1995. Through after MFA phase out, we never received any preferential access to the US market, yet our government in bringing in reform like waive the double fumigation policy for US cotton. I would say trade has done its wonder so far to support an economy rise from aid dependency, and this should be nurtured to allow it to take firm root. I appreciate the initiative that the Commission has taken, and I thank once again for the opportunity to share our perspective. Thank you for allowing me to testify today. Thank you very much, and I'm ready to respond. It's a labor-intensive industry, and out of our cutting and making costs, mostly is a labor cost.
Most of your costs are labor costs?
Yeah.
Okay. We've seen other estimates that say it's labor intensive, but that the costs of labor are only about 20% of the cost, but you would say most of your cost is labor cost.
This out of our cutting and making, that's a major cost. Out of FOB, yes, it is 20%, but out of our cutting and making costs, that's mostly the wages.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. And then I just wanted to try to connect the dots on a few things that I've seen in the testimony here today. One of our witnesses that we'll have on the next panel, Jason Judd, estimates that Bangladesh's minimum wage is about 56% of Cambodia's. Are you aware of that? Do you know how the minimum wage in Bangladesh compares to other countries?
You know, this is the minimum wages have in 1st of December, our minimum wages have increased by 56%. It is now over $130. And that's just the entry level, because the Cambodia's minimum wages is the average wages, and our minimum wages is the entry level wages, which means the person who just joined, have no experience, have never worked before, and just joined as a trainee at that time. And step by step, every 6 months, and we have a mandatory 5% increment every year. So the other countries, the wages is the average wages of different, but our wages is the entry level of the minimum wages.
Okay, thank you. And if you could, after the hearing, if you could present us with that more information on that, that would be helpful, including, some of the information you just recited.
Sure. I will provide more information as you require and as you want.
Okay, thank you very much. And then the next question I want to ask you about is productivity. I'm looking at an ILO report, a recent ILO report, which is on the record, but let's see, it's from, it's an ILO report from 2022, Employment Wages and Productivity Trends in the Asian Garment Sector. And according to a chart there on page 23, that suggests that Bangladesh is actually more productive. Its workers are actually more productive than Cambodia's workers. Is that, any thoughts on that? Does that surprise you to hear that, or do you think that that makes sense?
I mean, we don't know exactly the Cambodia's production performance, but what we do is that we don't produce any machinery, textile or garmenting machinery, and we use the high-end, most advanced and modern machinery. And in my testimony, you have heard that in especially in last 20 years, we have all upgraded the machinery and technology. So our workers, employees have a minimal physical work on that. So mostly we have all upgraded our machine, and is the other reason where our productivity is also. But still, our productivity, our garment worker efficiency is much less than other countries, which we understand, which we know that.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I understood that. So you're saying Bangladesh does have advanced machinery, which should mean that its productivity per worker is greater. But I also heard you say, nevertheless, Bangladesh's workers are less productive than many of its competitors.
Yes, compared to China, Vietnam, from Indonesia, our workers' productivity is less. And again, I want to repeat that the machine, the technology we use is the high-end technology, and we continuously upgrading our machine. We use new machine, and we always go for the high-end machine and imported machine. We 100% import, like China, they use their own machine, but we 100% imported where the best machine available, where the machine speed and the high-end machine is available.
Okay, thank you. And that's actually consistent with what I'm seeing in this graph. We don't have information from China, but as you said, this graph suggests that Indonesia, and I think you mentioned Vietnam, they both have higher productivity rates than Bangladesh, but that Cambodia and Pakistan have lower productivity rates. And of course, we would normally expect with a higher productivity rate, you would then have a higher wage. So one would expect, and I'd be happy to hear more about this post-hearing from you, but again, when you compare wages in Bangladesh to wages in Cambodia, it appears from what we've seen so far that wages in Bangladesh are lower, but given that they have a higher productivity rate than Cambodia, you would expect that the wage would be higher. So if you all have any thoughts on that post-hearing or now, I would appreciate hearing that as well.
I will update you, or I will give you the information, and you know that gradually our wages are increasing, and the other facilities are also increasing.
Okay, thank you. And then
Thank you.
Another question, again, just to compare to Cambodia, we have information on the record that that Cambodia's unionization rate is about 60%, and Bangladesh's unionization rate is about 4%. And also there's information on the record that suggests that with higher unionization rates, there's better enforcement of things like the minimum wage law and things like health and safety standards in countries. Do you have any thoughts on that? Can you explain why Bangladesh's unionization rate is so low and what impact that might have on health and safety in Bangladesh?
I think the numbers you have said, this is out of total countries union numbers you have said, but in garment industry, in RMG, we have right now out of 3,000 factory, we have more than 1,400 factories had a union. and every year the number of union has increasing, and I think also the government have also given a more simplification to make the union properly.
Okay, so if I hear you right, you would dispute the unionization rate is only 4% in Bangladesh. You did it by factory, but you made it sound like it's closer to maybe 50% when it comes to the number of factories that are unionized. Is that right?
Yes, because I think the figure what you have is the whole country's factories and the number of union. So, but in export-oriented RMG, which I representing, which today we are having the discussion, is that ready-made garment industries union is almost 50% of the total RMG, export-oriented RMG industry.
Okay, thank you. And just to make sure I heard you right, and I think there's a little bit of a problem with the connection, but
And I believe another point I want to mention, I'm not sure, but you can check that one, because in Cambodia, like in Bangladesh, there is in a factory, you can have 3 trade union, and there will be one CBA, collecting bargaining agent. But in Cambodia, they can have in one factory 10, 20, 50, whatever numbers they want. So I think that number also increased. So one factory, if they have 20, 30, so it will increase the numbers only.
okay, thank you. And then if I understood you correctly on your point about the unionization rate in Bangladesh, you're saying for apparel makers that are export-oriented, the number is much higher than apparel manufacturers in Bangladesh that are not export-oriented. Is that right?
Yes, and that's also the other industry. I don't have the exact numbers, but definitely apparel manufacturer in export-oriented have the highest number of trade unions.
Okay, so 2 questions on that. First is, my understanding was that Bangladesh does not allow unionization in export processing zones. Is that correct?
It is not that it's not allowing. They have this electoral body. They have but no, term is not so. And that is also the government is under discussion and with the government and European Union and USA. So I'm sure EPZ law is going to amend soon, and that as per the requirement and needed.
Okay, thank you. And then just following up with that last question about unionization rates being higher among garment factories that are export-oriented. Does Bangladesh have a lot of garment factories that aren't export-oriented? I would have thought almost all of them are export-oriented.
There are some garment factory, but those are very small scale. You know, that's like a tailoring shop. That's a domestic garment factories are not is a boutique type of 3 machine, 4 machine, 10 machine. This is mostly family-oriented swing tailoring industry. I will not say industry. They have the factory like that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hassan. My time has expired.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carpel?
Good morning. Thank you all for being here and for testifying. We very much appreciate your input. I wanted to ask, several of the witnesses have mentioned efforts on sustainability and ESG. And I wondered if the witnesses could speak with some more specificity on what types of initiatives are being put in place in terms of efforts to increase sustainability or comply with ESG, have you referred to them, standards? And is this primarily being driven by the interest or the desires of the brands that are purchasing from you? Or is this sort of a mix of brand preferences and standards, but as also sort of government requirements or programs?
You are asking from Bangladesh part or other?
From Bangladesh or India, or from any of the witnesses that have testified so far. I think Mr. Hassan, you might have mentioned it as well, but I think Mr. Partharathi also mentioned sustainability as well as some of the government witnesses that testified on the first panel.
Yeah, let me respond on that. Basically, we have a BGME Sustainability Strategic Vision 2030, where we have given, we are working aligned with all SDG goal, that reduction of GHG emission by 30%, sustainable material mix, which means we are going to use sustainable recycled material 50% by 2030, reduction of blue water footprint by 50%, then zero hazard discharge of hazardous chemical by 100%, reduction of energy consumption, another 30% from now on. Renewable energy will generate more 20%. Then in social, we have made an employment generation of 6 million. Gender equality, already we have 100%. Then inclusive and decent work, already we are doing 100%, and we'll continue doing this. Then good health, well-being of employees. So that is also 100% we are doing, and investment on sustainable communities. So that's the area we are working. And also you have seen that we have taken initiative to make more green growth, green factories. And in the world, we have the highest number of green factories. I don't know which are the countries have this number of, and all are certified by United States Green Building Consortium. So this is certified by your country. And they are coming here and certifying in world #1 factory in Bangladesh, world #2 factory in Bangladesh. I believe #3 is in Indonesia, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you go on up to 13 in Bangladesh, then 14 is another country, and then from again 15, 16 to up to 23 is in Bangladesh. So this testify that how we are proactively working to make our industry more green and transparent and energy efficient, as well as sustainable. We are trying to make it more sustainable.
Thank you. And are these initiatives, are these goals set by a government entity, or are they being set by industry themselves?
Basically, we have from our industry association, aligned with all the government goal, we have set this set up, and we are continuously monitoring this one. And I believe we will update you on all the information.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I guess and maybe if you want to do this after the hearing, but I guess I'm interested in sort of what what you have in place to monitor and incentivize and facilitate meeting these goals. Is this all up to industry to implement, or is there a government role in facilitating meeting these goals?
Here we have a government regulatory authority, and also in BGMA we set up a responsible business hub. We give all the information, and also we monitor on that way. And for setting up a green factory, more energy efficient, more environment friendly factory, government have incentivized. The corporate tax is 2% less than the other factories. So government also incentivized that the corporate tax have been reduced 2% to set up a green growth factory. And also to set up a green factory, there is a bank interest rate is less than the regular factory.
Question for the Bangladeshi witnesses. How has the growth of the textile industry impacted Bangladesh's competitiveness in the apparel sector? And what does the textile industry look like in Bangladesh?
Can I have the question again, please?
You want me to repeat the question? Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll repeat the question. How has the growth of the textile industry impacted Bangladesh's competitiveness in the apparel sector? And what does the textile industry look like in Bangladesh?
Yes, I mean, in last especially in last 20 years, our textile industry growth is phenomenal. I mean, the way we are, as I said, that we are importing each and every textile machinery from the best manufacturer in the world. And we have set up in the spinning, which means the yarn manufacturing, the knitting to knit fabric, the dyeing, finishing, and also the weaving. And the way we are doing, we are covering one by one. That first we have covered 85% of our knit garments, knit fabric, which means spinning as well as the knit fabric manufacturing, dyeing, finishing. And then in the woven area, in denim, we have covered almost 60% of our requirement, and it is growing. And especially what we have seen is that that in the backward linkage, we set up more industry. In fact, during the COVID time, also the pandemic, when across the globe, most of the people are either working from home or not working, we have concentrated to set up more backward linkage factory. And right now, our value addition, I mean, if you compare at the beginning, our local value addition was only 15 to 20%, but now our value addition is 70%, including cutting and making costs. So this is absolutely, we are growing in the backward linkage. And now we hope that in future, we will be more competitive to export the fabric also. But right now, most of the fabric, most of the textile production, which means yarn, fabric, and other material, we are consuming for either for local consumption or for export oriented. So eventually, we will be one of the largest textile producer to export also to the country which require textile yarn and fabric.
All right, and to
now
follow up
we
on that,
are
I'm sorry, go ahead.
now since you know that our government have allowed now and removed the double fumigation requirement for US cotton, so we will be able to import more cotton from US, and we are going to have our deep sea port in next 2 years' time. In fact, from next year, partially is going to start opening, and then bringing cotton with reduced time, and even the cost will be less, and we will be hopefully can use more textile mill can be set up, and it is reduce our garmenting time, because previously we have to depend on China or other countries to bring our yarn or fabric or other. So I believe that in accessories, in trims, we have covered almost 100%. In yarn, we have now covered most of the yarn requirement we are producing locally. In fabric, as I said, that knit and denim we have covered mostly, and hopefully in future we can produce more textile, more fabric.
All right, thank you. And to follow up on that, are yarn and fabric mills owned by ready-made garment factories, and are they vertically integrated into the ready-made garment sector?
There are some vertically owned by the garment factory, but there are some specialized yarn manufacturers, so we buy yarn from them. So both. There are some big yarn manufacturers, and there are some company who have their own yarn manufacturing, own fabric manufacturing, and then garmenting unit.
I now have a question for the Bangladeshi witnesses. How has the European Union's duty-free access for Bangladeshi apparel benefited the industry in Bangladesh? And what efforts is the Bangladesh industry making to account for the upcoming loss of EU GSP and duty-free eligibility for apparel under the Everything But Arms program?
We are enjoying under EBA, you understand, that completely duty-free entry of our garments, apparel to European Union. And since we are coming out from LDC 2026, exactly 24th November, after that, we are going to enjoy 3 years for a transition period, though we have requested for 6 years this transition period. The discussion is still going on, but our request is still there. And we expect after 3 years, even if they don't extend the transition period, which means we are going to enjoy complete duty-free up to 2029. And after 2029, there is a GSP Plus. So GSP Plus, we are working. That double transformation is a requirement, which means fabric have to be locally, and that's why we are setting up more yarn and fabric mills in Bangladesh so that we can get the opportunity to enjoy the GSP Plus, and that is still going on. We are waiting for that, but meantime, we are trying to be more competitive. We are trying to be more efficient so that, and also we expect our buyer should also act as a sourcing. I mean, they should source when they are talking about ethical. We also expect they should be a ethical sourcing, responsible sourcing, fair prices from them, and then I believe it will be win-win for both buyer and for us.
All right, thank you for your responses. My time has expired. Commissioner Schmidtline?
Mr. Hassan, if I could turn back to you, I just wanted to clarify a point you made earlier. I think you had said again that most of your costs are labor, and I just want to make sure I understand that. Are you not including in that your raw material inputs, fabrics and so forth?
I have not included the raw material cost. What I said, that cutting and making cost. So our most of the cost is raw materials. It means yarn, fabric, and
Yeah.
when I said that out of our cutting and making costs, there most of the costs are wages, the labor. Their electricity, utilities, you understand. So we always cover raw materials different and the cutting and making in another portion. And out of that, wages is the maximum.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much. That's helpful.
Thank you.
Just again, this will be, I think, if you can answer this post-hearing, but I'm again referring to the same ILO report I referred to earlier.
I will clearly respond you on with all the other information which I have not covered. So I will respond all this point.
Okay, thank you. And we had talked a little bit about the minimum wage, and you explained Bangladesh's minimum wage a bit there. But I guess if you could also, post-hearing, I'm looking at figure 13 on page 23 of this ILO report, and it shows the average monthly nominal wages in Bangladesh and some of these other countries. And so if you could also just comment on that, if you agree that
I will, because I don't have the ILO that report in front of me, so I will collect it, and definitely I will respond on that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I guess turning back for all, I guess 3 countries are represented here right now, if I'm not mistaken. Turning back to Commissioner Schmidtline's question about raw materials, and I guess I'm referring both to, cotton, yarns and fabrics. So my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is in the case of India, almost all of the cotton, yarn, and fabric is produced domestically. And I believe that's also true in the case of Indonesia, but in the case of Bangladesh, the cotton is imported and maybe the yarn is imported as well, but then there's increasingly more textile production in Bangladesh going forward. I guess I'll start with you, Mr. Hassan. Do I have that right about Bangladesh?
Yes, we import cotton. Most of the cotton we import, including I think almost 20% we are importing from, about 12% we are importing from USA, we are importing from India. So it's across the world we are importing. And yarn, most of the yarn we are producing locally now. So some of the yarn we import from India, and fabric as well. Also in knit, as I said, that 85% we are producing locally. Knit fabric, 60% of our denim fabric locally, and the balance fabric we import from different part of the world, from Korea, from India, from Indonesia, from Thailand. So different, even from China as well.
Okay, so then focusing on cotton, I guess, given that you said most yarn is now produced in Bangladesh. On the cotton side, you said 20% of that cotton is from the US. You also mentioned India.
No,
Do you know?
12% from US.
Oh, I'm sorry, 12.
Over 20. The cotton, raw cotton, yes.
Okay, thank you. And how much do you import from China? How much from India? What are your other major
We
sources?
don't import any cotton from China. We import cotton from India. It is West Africa, CIS countries, Australia. So it's planned. Once upon a time, we used to import almost 70% from India, but now it is just around 25% from India. So, and as I said, the CIS countries, from Australia, even from Egypt. So it's all over. So it depends which quality of cotton. So this is our advantage, that which, for home textile, there is a cotton requirement is different. For finer quality of knit fabric, cotton is different. For denim, cotton is different. So we go for the best cotton available wherever and what price advantage we get.
Okay, thank you. And then just one last question on that. Yarn, you said you now produce most of the yarn you consume. What are your other main sources of yarn?
Yarn main source is India.
India, okay. Okay, great, thank you.
And some polyester yarn we bring from China as well. Some polyester.
Some
Indonesia,
polyester?
China, some polyester, but most of the yarn is coming from India.
Okay, so the
And
cotton
Indonesia
yarn,
as well, yeah.
cotton-based
Cotton-
yarn is coming from India, and then the polyester yarn comes from China, and you mentioned a couple of other countries.
We produce locally, whatever the balance, small quantity we buy from, again, let me mention that the cotton from India and Indonesia, and polyester also from India, Indonesia, and China.
Okay, thank you. And I have a lot of questions for you. I appreciate your your bearing with me here, Mr. Hassan. But I also wanted to, you point out in your written testimony, you had a chart from OTEXA that showed the average unit import prices from the various countries. Can you tell me more about that? Is that a good indication of how competitive countries are? Or is there too much of a product mix issue in there for us to really address competitiveness from that? I'm referring to the chart on page.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yeah, so on, in your testimony, I guess it's not numbered, but
Yes.
in your testimony, you have table 3 that has U.S. apparel import unit prices from the various countries. And this is, the sources from OTEXA. And I'm wondering to what extent, what we should do with this information. I mean, I think you seem to be suggesting from your testimony that this is one way to kind of measure how competitive countries are. But I guess my question is, is that correct? And is there too much kind of product mix issue in this data?
I mean, this data we have given, we always check this one, that how we are going towards more value-added product, and we are trying to increase our unit price. And I believe so far, till 2022, the average unit price from the world of USA import, and our price was less than that. For the first time in 2023, our unit price is above the average unit price. So this is, we are working to increase our unit price so that we get a fair prices. And also we are working to diversify our product basket within apparel. We don't want to produce only basic items. So we are working towards making more value-added products. So this is the reason we follow up that one. And I hope that next year I can show you even better and higher unit price.
Okay, thank you. And then just one last question for you. As we all know, there was the Rana Plaza disaster in 2013, and then the Tazreen fire just before that in 2012. And there's been a lot of work, I know, done to improve health and safety in the Bangladeshi factories. Can you tell me sort of where things are since 2023? How much things have improved? Have there been any additional disasters like that? And if not, is that attributable to improved health and safety standards, or can you speak to that?
I think we can tell you that right now, Bangladesh factories are safest in the world. And we are continuously working on that. We are improving. We covered all the factories. So initially, we have covered each and every factory, the audit and inspection, and we established a RSC, the RMG Remediation Council cell. There, we have going, visiting, and taking care of each and every factory. And I believe this will continue. We will doing that, and very openly and very transparent. All the report are open, and they can, so anytime any buyer or the government agency or international agencies can visit the factory, and we can tell you that this will continue doing that. Health and safety is our first priority, and it will continue. We will do that. So what I'm trying to say is that there are no incident happen like the previous two incident, and I believe in future it will be even better working condition, and the safety and health, hygiene, everything will be covered on that.
Okay, thank you very much. And then just one follow-up question on that. My understanding is the U.S. government withdrew GSP benefits to Bangladesh based on those concerns after 2013, maybe in 2014. And those benefits were never restored. Of course, GSP has now expired, and so there's not really an opportunity to reevaluate. But is there any indication from the U.S. government as to whether or not it agrees that Bangladesh now meets the eligibility requirements under the GSP program?
Yes, I'm sure you know all the story on that. In 2013, the GSP have been suspended. And in fact, though US and the whole globally claim that 97% of the product goes under GSP, but unfortunately, April falls under 3%. So we never enjoyed GSP. Apparel industry never enjoyed any duty-free access. As I understand that producing apparel and for the workers, I believe that U.S. government should consider and change because Bangladesh is paying Bangladesh import duty. Average import duty is the highest in the world. I think around 15.5%. Even India's average duty is less than 10%. China's duty is less than 9%. And some Western world average duty is even 1%, 1.5%. So the policy is designed such a way that if you export, car, or if you export even warplane, that fall under GSP. But ready-made garments, which produce the women's and who are needy, is not falls under GSP. So
Yep. Thank you.
we expect.
I understand that, but in terms of the eligibility criteria, though, do you know what the has the U.S. position changed that Bangladesh is still not meeting the eligibility requirements for the program?
I think we have already fulfilled the requirement. The roadmap have given by them at that time. There was a 16-point and action plan. Actually, I believe we have already implemented all the 16 action plan, but still we are running that one, but the road is never ending for us. So every time we are waiting, the next year it will be changed, the new decision will come that Bangladesh will be under the GSP program, but our road is never ending. We could not complete the whole work yet.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hassan. I appreciate it.
Bangladesh is one of the largest suppliers of blue denim garments to the United States. Why does Bangladesh compete so well in this product?
In denim, we have learned the technology. First of all, we have gone for more varieties of denim fabric and product, because we have gone for number one is on the machinery. Number two is that we have gone for the laundry. I mean, we have gone for, previously it was only blue denim, just what we know, what was known as a jeans, but now we have including spandex denim, colored denim, we have knit denim. So all type of denim we are producing. We are, since at the beginning, we used to import 100% denim fabric from abroad, but we have worked very closely with the brand and the buyers that what are the requirement, what type of fabric they require. And that's the design and development. We are working with the, we set up most of our garment denim factories are with facilities with having complete with a garment unit. So we have also have the advantage of, as I said, that we have more concentrated on the at the beginning, and now also for the cotton-based garment, and that's why we in fact have learned, and we go for more buyer base, because we have not concentrated only high-end buyer. We have concentrated for all type of value of the denim garments.
All right. Thank you for your response. I have another question for the Bangladeshi witnesses. Commissioner Kearns brought up some labor issues, and I also want to ask you a question regarding labor. In 2022, the Bangladesh labor rules were amended. Could you please speak to what the most significant changes were and what any effects were of those changes?
In 2020, in fact, the amendment which was prepared, and it was again, hopefully this year this will work, because last year whatever the amendment was ready, but it was again going to be revised on that. Previously, the amendment was done that the threshold for registration of trade union was reduced from 30% to 20%, and now it is coming to 15%. This is a then. I mean, the penalty have increased if there is they found any child labor, which we don't have, but they have increased the penalty, and also there is a penal provision for unfair labor practice. There was the penalty have been increased and double and triple in the employer side, and as we said that hopefully in next few months' time, there will be another level amendment, and all will be for the employees' favor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ghosh. Now I'm going to move back to the India witnesses, and I would appreciate if you could talk on the reliability of electricity for your factories and also the cost of electricity in India.
Our power cost is, I think, lesser than any other country. Like it's lesser than Bangladesh, it is lesser than Vietnam, and with our shift of the power mix shifting from fossil fuel based to solar generation, I believe the power cost in times to come will drastically come down. We will be able to provide the exact number, but I think with the humongous capacity that we have created in solar power generation of 73 gigawatt, and the cost, the power cost has come drastically down in solar power. So we will be able to share the numbers in our written submission.
Okay, and I assume that if the costs are low, the reliability is good?
Yeah, we have a national grid. We have, it is national grid takes care. So even if there is a shutdown in some power plant or the other, it doesn't affect the grid. And there's a constant supply. There's no power interruption.
All right, thank you, Mr. Thakur. And now I want to turn that question to the Bangladeshi witnesses, and if you could talk about the reliability of electricity for your factories, and also if you could talk briefly on the electricity costs in Bangladesh for manufacturers.
I mean, Bangladesh government have right now the electricity generation is it is much more than what is required. Most of our factories have got the electricity line and we have a backup generator with us. So in the factory side, when we have a power shortage, and which is maybe sometime between 1 hour to 2 hours, sometimes there is no electricity power. At that time, we run the factory with each and every factory have a backup generator.
Okay, so would you characterize reliability of electricity as good?
I will say we have the electricity. I will say it's reliable, and I hope that in next 2 years' time, whatever the power failure we have, in the factory side, government is going to support that one. We have the problem in our supply of the gas. The gas still is not reliable, which means we are not getting uninterrupted gas supply, and that's the area we suffer our production, and that's most of the time also increase our cost.
And where does your gas come from?
We have mostly it's a natural gas. We have our natural gas from and then we have to import some LPG from Middle East, mostly coming from Qatar, Oman. This is the two main country we are getting this LNG and LPG.
All right.
And some
thank you.
USA as well. Oh, from USA, we are getting some USA as well, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate your response. My time's about to expire. Commissioner Schmidtlein?
Thank you. I have no further questions for this panel. Thank you all again for being here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kearns?
Yes, Mr. Hassan, just one last question. And again, this will, I think, be for post-hearing for you to answer, but I'm looking at a Solidarity Center report on fire and other safety incidents in the Bangladesh garment sector since Tazreen, although the one I'm looking at, I think, only goes through 2019. But we will share this with you in case you don't have access to it. But it shows a number of incidents, I believe, well, over 169 incidents. And so I'd like, if you could, post-hearing, if you could comment on this.
I'm sure it is they have given the total numbers, maybe small and other, but in RMJ sector, I will, since I represent the export-oriented, and we are talking on this export-oriented RMJ industry, there is no incident, but again, I will recheck these things and let me have your information so that I can compare and I can get this detailed information from my office and from all the industry. I will get the involved, and I will check with the fire department. We have a fire department ministry. From there, I will also check the information.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hassan. We'll be in touch. I have
Thank
no
you.
further questions.
Commissioner Carpel?
I don't have any further questions, but just want to thank you all for being available for our questions and for your testimony. I do appreciate that each of the testimonies made an effort to hit on the major export competitiveness factors, which is the key point of our study. So very much appreciate the thought given to your testimonies and your opening statements. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
also have no further questions, but I'd like to say I appreciate you all being here today. It really helps us out. And again, you might be communicating with our staff might be communicating more with you to get more information. But the information you have provided has been very helpful. With that, this panel concludes. Again, we appreciate you speaking today. We will now recess for lunch. Let's come back here at 1:15, and we will start the next panel then. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you.
Yep.
Honorable
Thank you from
commissioners.
Bangladesh.
Thank you very much.
And I'd also like to thank you all again. I know it's the hours where you are very different than here. So we appreciate you taking time during your busy day to be with us.
Thank you very much from Bangladesh, and we would like to extend our thanks to you, Mr. Chair, and also the commissioners. I think it's already 10:25 in night in Dhaka, so we would be delinked with this next panel. And for further question, what we have already mentioned and also mentioned by the President BGMEA, we will submit in written before 24th of March. Thank you very much. Good night.
All right.